Welcome back to another episode of Digging Deep. It is so lovely to have you. Don't mind my setting. I know you can see that it's dark outside. I definitely procrastinated recording this all day just because we went back to the preschool yesterday and teacher tired is a different beast, let me tell you. So I've been wrestling with that all day, but I'm so excited. I say this quite literally in every episode, but I just get so excited to record these and to share with you what I've learned and my lessons. And I'm especially excited for today's because we are talking all about the importance of play. Happy New Year! It's a new year. I was going to say a new decade. No, it's not. It's a new quarter of the century, I think. Yeah, that's how that works. Century's 100. We're in the 25th of the century, so 1 out of 4, 25. That makes sense. We're in a new quarter. We're in the Okay, let me shut up. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. I'm so happy to have you. It's insane because this is episode 50 of this podcast, meaning I have been sitting here, not in this chair, but I've been sitting here metaphorically, spilling my guts and my feelings and my heart to an empty room that I'm talking to right now, but the fact that people could consume this in some way and that can translate to them then feeling less alone is insane to me. But it's also the most beautiful and profound thing in the world, so I'm so grateful. And I say this probably in every episode too, but I want to do more with this in the future and find a way to make this digital exchange something physical. Don't really know how yet, but I know the end goal is a TED Talk, so stay tuned for that one day, and you can play this at my TED Talk. But I just want to say that I'm grateful for you even taking the time out of your day to watch this, and I truly do hope that these messages resonate with you. Like I said, today's episode is all about 2025. I had a lot of things going on in my brain about what I wanted to specifically talk about as the first episode of the year. I feel like that's a lot of pressure, and I want to start off on a good foot. So I figured there's no better way than going over my word of the year, which I've done this will be my 3rd consecutive year, and then just talking about all of the themes with that. And this is a conversation even before I had my word of the year picked out that I was really excited to have. So without further ado, it is time to dig deep. I am so very excited for this year, and I'm excited not in the way that I have been in the past. I had a whole list of things that I wanted to do, and I was just ready to outdo myself and fall into this hyper productive, overworking, go mentality. New year, new me type of mentality of just overworking, even when my body's telling me to slow down. And I have realized just how much I've lived in survival mode, in fight or flight, in a constant state of trying to protect and preserve myself and my energy, and just always feeling like I'm overstimulating, I'm doing too much. And this year I have completely thrown away any subscription to the idea of overdoing myself, overworking, of always being on. I mean, I'm like that in my job just because that's what it is to be a teacher. You're always on and you're always present and have to be conscious because you impact tiny humans. But in my personal life, I just want to really embrace slowing down. And with that, I want to embrace the fun that comes with slowing down. Life was meant to be enjoyed. It was meant to be indulged. It was meant to be taken at a slow pace to truly grasp everything that's happening around you. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in a capitalist society, slowness and producing, which is the basis of capitalism, do not go hand in hand. There's little to no room for stillness and slowing down in our world right now, which is very interesting because as humans, we are made to be cyclical beings and calm down with the seasons. Winter is not just a nature or an animal thing, it is a human soul thing that we should all subscribe to. So, with that being said, that was a lot to lead to this, but that's why you have a podcast, because I say a lot. With that being said, my word of the year, can I get a drum roll? Wait, before I tell you, I want to tell you my other two in case you don't know. If you are new here, I will fill you in. My word of the year for 2023 was trust. I literally have it tattooed on me. Well, not the word, but hey, little gun show. I'm not trying to flex. That sounded mean. Sorry. Someone told me that I need to stop giving disclaimers and prefacing, so I'm just going to exist. I'm showing you my tattoo, and if I have a muscle, that's awesome. And if I talk about my muscle, that's not me trying to boast. I get so awkward about that. Okay, anyways, here's my tattoo. It's a melting clock for people who are only listening to this on the audio form, but that was about trusting the timing of my life. So 2023, that was my word of the year. 2024, my word of the year was bloom. I don't have it tattooed on me yet, but I do want to get it tattooed on me. I think I want the word, or maybe like a flower of some sort, a cool way to represent that. And so for this year, back to the drum roll, whimsy. My word of the year is whimsy. I want to be a whimsical, magical, frolicking, fearless being. And with whimsy, that is directly tied to play and your ability to not take yourself, life, anything too seriously. And I love the idea of play and moving into being in education in that field. That is such a foundation for what we teach our children. And that is such a fundamental characteristic that helps you develop as you grow older. Without play, you wouldn't understand curiosity, you wouldn't understand trial and error, you wouldn't find your voice and your creativity, and it also helps with your relationships with other people. Through play, we learn how to share, we learn how to have empathy, we learn how to truly recognize that it's not just our world, but it is all of our worlds, and we are just collectively existing together. And I think that one of the most beautiful things is the way that children see the world, which is why I want to work with them for the rest of my life, because that preciousness and that sense of just wonder and awe of everything, because it's just so new to them, is something that I want to hold on to forever. The power of play is so profound, and as adults, we often think that we have to get rid of that and just grow up, but that side of us always remains. We just get good at hiding it or pushing it down, suppressing it. Whimsy, and I want to define these for you just because when I was first looking into it, I was like, what does whimsy even mean? Like, I've heard of it, or like when I think of like whimsical people, I just think of like a girl in like a tutu in a flower field. But even with that, there's like this side of it where it's like, that is not of value, that is not serious. And I know that that's not something that I believe, that is something that I've taken from my world that has told me that to be whimsical or to be open-minded, free-spirited, and playful is to be less than. Which is interesting because guess who usually are whimsical people? Women. Females. Ew, I don't like calling us that. Anyways, whimsy, by definition, by the Oxford Dictionary, when you go on Google and you do a little search, whimsy definition, it says, a thing that is fanciful or odd. Let me stop you right there. Whimsy is looked at usually through a negative connotation, or not explicitly negative, but a less than connotation. The word odd pops up. Now, when we think of odd, we don't think of acceptance. We don't think of being open to that. We usually correlate that with being different. And most times, things that are different, we think are bad, or we're not as willing to explore that option. So being a whimsical person can seem like a less than identity to attach to someone. Now, when I was doing some further research on this, I looked up the emotion of whimsy. And this one had a more positive and productive definition. It says that the emotion whimsy is characterized by a sense of lightheartedness and a lack of seriousness. It is often involving a sense of joy and wonder, as well as a willingness to embrace the unexpected or unconventional. Now that, right there, is the definition of whimsy I subscribe to. Categorized by a sense of joy and wonder and the willingness to embrace the unexpected or unconventional. Like I said, I feel like I've been in this perpetual state of fight or flight and just like literally trying to survive, which is funny because collectively I feel like so many people have been going through that. My sister, the friends that I have around me, like we've all just been fighting for our lives. Like truly, I don't say that comically. Like yes, I giggle, but it's not funny at all. Laughing, but the joke's not funny at all. And it's exhausting being that like on your toes and always like wondering when the next shoe is going to drop or waiting for something bad to happen to you and not fully being able to sit in the good and ground yourself in the joy. But I am a firm believer, and I know this like on days when I have good mental health days, like I am so eager to find things to be grateful for, and the joy and the good and the gratitude is just pouring out of me because there are so many little things around us that are miracles in their own right that we don't recognize because we get so caught up in this loop of I'm just surviving, I'm just trying to make it through. But when you're able to have that awareness and have like the privilege of being present, because that truly is a gift, not everybody gets it, you realize how deeply profound and moving embracing joy and wonder and curiosity is. And that breeds love. And when you love, you are able to encourage other people to love. And then it just becomes this thing where we're all just happy to be alive, even when it's hard, even when it's confusing, even when we don't know what's going on, even when we're battling with our own things, we can still operate from a place of love and spread that to other people. So I know that whimsy and wonder go hand in hand, and that's like one of the best combinations. Whimsy is magic, and I just want to be a person that exudes that for honestly the rest of my life, but specifically this year, I want to focus on how to embrace whimsy in the happening of my life. Like, yes, no matter what, there's always going to be a to-do list. There's always going to be something I could be doing more of, something I could be better at, something I could be learning, something I could be reading, something I could probably be producing. But there's also life that I could be living, and that is enough. That is deeply profound all on its own. There is so much joy and magic in the everyday. Like, I'm a firm believer of the mundane, magic in the mundane, and romanticizing your routine. Because at the end of the day, you repeat so much of the same thing throughout your life. Like, if you take your years, a lot of the times you're going to do the same things. You wake up, usually have one of 3 breakfasts, then you go to your job, you usually listen to the same playlist on the way to your job, you take the same commute because humans like routine and we do not like having to make decisions because we experience decision fatigue. So we just do the same thing that is comfortable and we don't push ourselves to get out of that because, again, that requires brain power that we already lack from making other important decisions in our lives. So we do the same thing so much for so much of our lives that we forget to take a step back and look at all of the beauty and magic around us. And play is often associated with being a child. And when we think of children, there's a sense of immaturity or just innocence that is associated with that. And when we grow up into adults, we do not think that it is a compliment a lot of the times to be considered whimsical for a lot of people, because like I mentioned, whimsy is usually a feminine trait, but I think men can obviously embody that as well. It's just not the norm. But to be whimsical, to be in touch with that childlike sense of yourself, of your inner child, is usually to be looked down on in society. Because what does society expect of you? They expect of you to magically just turn off all of that fun and playful energy and become this serious, work-oriented person. But we are not wired for that. We are not wired to be machines. That's not why we're here. That's not why we were made. And that, for a lot of people, does not resonate. That is why being a creative or being someone that isn't just a normal 9 to 5 is becoming more of a popular thing, because people have different things that correlate with them and that resonate with them, with their specific learning styles, their specific capabilities. And not everybody wants to or is able to shut that part off. And I do not think anybody should fully shut that side of themselves off. Whimsy is what helps us stay in touch with our sense of wonder, our sense of curiosity, our sense of problem solving, figuring out different solutions, trying a different way of doing something, of coming up with a completely different idea, of not limiting ourselves, and truly being open to the world. When you're a child, you are the most curious being on this earth. You do not know anything, therefore you are open to everything. All you want to do is learn. That's why as kids, they ask, why? What's that? What are we doing? Where are we going? When are we going to get there? What's that? How does that work? Mom, what are you eating? Can I have some? What does it taste like? Is it spicy? Is it hot? So many questions. They don't know anything, so they want to learn everything. And I think we lose so much of ourselves when we give up that. When we think that we need to know the answer, so instead of speaking up, we just stay quiet. Or we don't want to look stupid or embarrass ourselves in front of our big time boss, so instead of asking questions or advocating for ourselves, we just stay quiet. As children, we do not have any concept of being less than, of being the best, as being above others, as being unworthy of anything. We are just there for a good time, and we are there to learn. Children do not have any concept of being insecure. They have no sense of fear, which sometimes works against them. But when I think back to my younger self and my fondest memories of play, I just think about me going on the monkey bars. I have so many pictures of me on the monkey bars, and that was like my thing. That was my jam. If I was on the playground, you knew where to find me. I was always climbing the monkey bars. And I remember my parents would always get scared because I was trying to do like the backflip thingy, like not a full backflip because like that would be actually dangerous. But like when you hold on, you put your legs up there and then you like go over. I hope you're picturing what I'm doing. But my parents would always be scared. But as a kid, I was not worried about that. Sure, I'd gotten hurt before doing something similar, but you know what I did? I dusted the sand off of my knees and I got right back up and I did it. Because I was resilient, because I was fearless, because all I cared about was having a good time, was playing. And I think as adults, we can apply that same logic of playing for the sake of playing for the sake of the experience and for the fun of it all, instead of thinking that if I'm going to do this activity, it needs to give me a result. It needs to be something of value, which is usually the value is money. And I think about this a lot in the context of this. Honestly, I love doing this and I do want to dedicate more time to it because I want it to grow. And with that growth, it has the potential of earning me money, which, hey, I'm not one to deny that. That would be awesome. But I do want to make sure that my intentions are always pure and that even when I do make money from this one day, that I'm still producing quality episodes and producing it from a place of authenticity, of me genuinely having something to say and then saying it, not me having to meet this quota or having a deadline or I'm low on money that month so I need to put out episodes. Like, we lose so much of the joy of doing things for the sake of doing them because we don't prioritize play. We think that doing something for the sake of having fun is frivolous and most of the time pointless and useless, so then we don't give any effort to it. But play is what enables us to have a joyful life, and it is what enables us to connect with others and connect with ourselves. Some of the happiest people I know are the ones that have never lost sight of their childlike sense of wonder and whimsy and play, and people that prioritize being loud and big personalities and quote unquote cringe. But cringe is also subjective because what the hell is that? That is a made up word. That doesn't exist. Like, we literally, let me remind you, hey, real quick, check in, let's zoom out. We live on a floating rock in the middle of space. None of this is real. None of this is real. We are in some weird interstellar dimension that I don't really know of, but this is not real. So if we're going to be here, we might as well make the most of it. And with that, we should not care about things like cringe or being too much or not enough. That's a made up concept. And when you actually think about it, you are not taught those things as a child. As a child, you have such a pure view of the world because all you want to do is have fun and play and enjoy yourself. And as you get older, you learn that you shouldn't care about those things, that you need to just grow up and throw those things away. But really, the key to happiness is having a connection to that. You can still be a career-driven person and a high achiever while also still prioritizing joy and having things that you do that you just purely love for the sake of doing it. Not because it gets you a title, not because it makes you seem cooler or of importance or maybe makes you have more money, just for the simple sake of, I like this, therefore I'm going to do this. It doesn't have to be anything deeper than that. But even in that, that is so profound because you are following a calling in you, you are following something that sparks dopamine, something that excites you from a pure standpoint, and that in itself is something that is such a beautiful thing. When I think about whimsy and prioritizing play, something that I really, really, really want in the grand scheme of life, honestly, like one of my biggest goals is to just like feel free, a sense of non-attachment and not feeling like I'm being like weighed down by something and I'm having to do something that maybe I don't want to do, or just like I can't move. Like, I like having the freedom to just run around, do what I want, obviously still having responsibilities, but knowing that I am free to do as I please. And I think about children a lot in that aspect. They are the most free, non-attached beings in the world. The only thing that I'd say they're attached to, well, they're attached to like their toys. Because like, think of a toddler. If you even look in the direction of their toy, oh, they're going to pick a fight. So that is something that they definitely get attached to. But they are just so open and they're so moldable in the sense that they do not know right from wrong yet. They're still learning and they learn through experiencing. If anybody doesn't know, just to preface, I'm currently a preschool teacher, and in our curriculum and in my educational classes at school, we learn about incorporating play as an educational instruction. Children learn through play. A lot of preschools are strictly play, like children design their own curriculum based off of play, which I really won't share my thoughts on that. But play is an essential part of the way that we learn and grow. There's structured play, there's independent play. You play socially, you can play with objects, with your environment. You can play on a playground, with games, engage with others. But play in its form in general is how we learn. It's from the most basic levels of preschool onward. We start out learning how to play, how to share, how to be with others in that setting. Even today in class, or in my daily schedule, honestly, but I'm thinking of today because we were all there. We just got back from break, and it was just very precious to see how from the beginning of the year even till now, they've grown in terms of their relationships with others. They're a lot more willing to share. They're a lot more willing to include someone in a different activity if maybe they're doing something alone. They're a lot more inviting of others, and that was learned through practice of playing. When they first came into school, they hadn't had that much experience interacting with kids of their age. Therefore, they weren't as good at playing. They were more independent or more reluctant to not wanting to share, being a little bit aggressive, things like that. But now, even just a little bit of practice with that, they have grown so much. And it's just a testament to the fact that play is an essential part of all of our development. Even if you don't recall the time when you learned how to play, you did take lessons from that carried on throughout your life. Play is centered around the idea of open-mindedness and of trying. I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast all about the psychology of play, which I think is very interesting in unpacking the mystery of why, as adults, we lose our sight of play. Why are we so willing to throw away something that has been such a foundation of our being and sub it out for more of a serious lifestyle? Play is colorful, play is vibrant, play is exciting, and it's something that is a very joyous experience. And with that, it requires an aspect of you trying and a willingness to not be good at something, a willingness to be seen trying and maybe be seen trying not well, but knowing that through the active effort and the repeated effort of putting yourself in that experience, you're going to grow no matter what. As kids, you do not care if you fall. You're just going to get right back up. And usually your reaction to your fall is determined by the reaction from the adults. If an adult sees a child that falls and they're like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Oh my gosh, are you bleeding? What is going on? Oh my God, you must be so hurt. Oh my God. If they start freaking out, that child is going to internalize that behavior and think, oh my gosh, there must be something seriously wrong. Because at that age, children do not know how to regulate and process their own emotions. So their outside being, meaning their caregivers or their parents, are the ones that signal that for them. So if their caregiver is freaking out, the child is going to be like, oh my gosh, they know what they're doing. So therefore, if they're scared, I should be really scared. But I've seen it, and I've also practiced this on the other end, where if you see a child that is hurt or that falls, maybe not even that hurt, and you are calm and you approach them with a sense of ease and you're not freaking out, you're there to help them, and you just tell them to brush it off and get back up, they're going to be fine. Even if they're bleeding, sure, some tears may be shed, but they're going to get over that a lot quicker and bounce right back than the child that had the more dramatic reaction. And that just goes to show that as adults, we should be in tune with our emotions and we should be able to model that to children. Again, I think of these things a lot in the context of children. I thought about this even before I was a teacher just because I would love to have my own family one day, but children learn by seeing, and as much as they have to learn from adults, because we model a lot of their behavior and a foundation of who they become is from us, we have so much to learn from kids. I admire children's ability to just be free and to just follow their joy, lean into their joy, to not really care what other people think, to be so cemented in their opinion and their identity, even though it's still very much developing. Just their confidence and truly like the unshakable aspect of their confidence is just something that I'm always in awe of. And their fearlessness and just their wonder and lust for life and their kindness and their openness to everybody. They don't know what it means to discriminate or to like something better than the other. They're just so open and they lean into those things. And I think that as adults, we desperately need to find a way to pull ourselves back to that. In the conversation of play, the psychological aspects of that, Andrew Huberman also mentioned how play is a homeostatic state, meaning the body has a state called homeostasis, which is a process in which the body tries to regulate and keep balance within all of its systems. In the context of play, play is homeostatic in the way that the less play we get, the more play we crave. It is our body's way of trying to bring it to an equilibrium and to balance that out. Therefore, if a child, let's say, at school doesn't play as hardly as they usually do or get as many minutes outside to run around and get their energy out, when they get home, they're going to be a little bit antsy and ready to go out because they need to regulate those emotions. Play is a great way to release your emotions, to release stress, and play comes in so many different forms. Play can be a physical thing. You see that with people doing sports teams or dance. That was a really, really, really big one for me. It was just playing and dance and just staying in touch with that activity that I loved so much as a kid growing up. That just made me feel like the most like whimsical, magical, fairy-like being on this earth. And that is another factor of play. It is the idea of structured versus unstructured, or structured independent. There's a lot of different combinations that you can have with that, but with structured versus unstructured, in the context of dance, how I apply it, I think of structured play as going to class, paying for someone to teach you a combo. You go in, they have their set of moves that they're going to teach you, they have their music, you are simply there just to receive it and to perform it. You are inputting that information and putting it out into the world. That is a very structured activity. And versus independent or unstructured play, that would be you making your own combo. So you get to be a little bit more free. There's no one telling you what it should look like, how many counts you should have, how many cool tricks you should have, what the tempo should be, the syncopation, the musicality you should use, what music you should use, what style. You get to pick that out. But both of those experiences have such good lessons in them, and that's why I think with play you should also balance the type of play that you engage in. And play is also a great way to get social connections. You can have a very a very lighthearted experience with others and just be reminded of like the joy and the magic and the whimsy and the fun and the beauty of what it means to be alive. Engaging in activities with others, building that community in a fun way. It doesn't have to be something that is crazy deep, but I think that there is profound nature in doing things that are more mundane and simple. Play is also about contingency testing. It is about proving to yourself that you can do something else and proving that there are so many different ways of solving or arriving to a conclusion. Play is about trial and error. It is about putting yourself out there and not really knowing the outcome, but doing it anyways because it feels good in the moment. Following that and riding that wave of inspiration and that wave of intuition and just seeing where it leads you. Again, I keep tying these back to kids, but you do not know what the outcome is going to be when you're a child and you're playing, but you just follow it because it feels good. And sorry, there's someone out there. But you're testing out to see the outcomes, and you're proving to yourself that there's not just one way of doing it, and also in that process of doing it, it can be fun. I think about that a lot, and I've had a lot of lessons specifically in that about enjoying the journey. And a big way to enjoy the journey is by adding play or adding things to look forward to. And it doesn't have to be a grand thing, it doesn't have to be a trip, or it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money, but it's just taking the time to be intentional and finding things that make you look forward to life, make you look forward to waking up, make you hopeful about the future or the world around you, because there is so much negativity that you can feed into, and it's so accessible and so easy to get overwhelmed and consumed by that. So I think it is your responsibility and yours only to find the joy and find the whimsy of life and lean into that, because the world will try to convince you that that is non-existent anymore and that that's not accessible to you and that you shouldn't even prioritize that, especially not as an adult. But one of the best things you can do for yourself, for your happiness and your overall well-being, is leaning into whimsy, leaning into joy. It can be fun. It can be so fun. And that doesn't mean that there's not hard work. That doesn't mean that there's not hard days. That doesn't mean that sometimes you do have to just put on a brave face. But there's also times where you can just go out and frolic with your friends and dance and laugh and skip and jump and not really take life too seriously, because at the end of the day, we live on a floating rock and this is all gonna end one day. But you don't have to be so focused on that. You can just have fun in the process. You can just find little things that you love, and it doesn't have to mean anything to anyone but you. It can just be your own little joyful experience, your own little whimsical thing. And I thought about this a lot more recently as well, but like, things are beautiful and are whimsical and magical and full of love because you make them like that. Like, the way that you view the world and the way that you add light and love and magic and sprinkle stardust everywhere you go is uniquely your own. And that is not something that can be taken away from you because it exists within you. That came from you, therefore it cannot ever leave you. And with leaning into whimsy and all of that, your ability to see the beauty in life through it all, despite everything, is your gift. And not everybody is wired like that, unfortunately. Therefore, the best thing you can do for yourself and the world is lean into that. Find a way to hone that and spread it as much as you can, because so many people desperately need someone to just speak up and say that it's okay, and say that you don't have to be embarrassed by normal things, and just say that it's okay to have a childlike mentality. That doesn't make you any less mature or any less serious. That just means that you are a deeply conscious human being who has done a lot of work, and I salute you because I know it's not easy. I just recently found this out literally today when I was doing research for the episode. Actually, no, let me not lie. I knew about this because I learned about it in my child development class, but there are play personalities along with different play styles and different play types. There are play personalities. And I think it's so interesting because as adults, we're not taught this stuff. I only learned this because I'm in an education field. I'm in a child-focused field. Therefore, of course, I'm going to learn about child concepts. But had I not done that, I would have never learned that there were different play personalities. And these play personalities are not designed for children specifically. They're designed for everybody, meaning adults can put themselves in a different play category as well. And one thing that we love is a little label. We love putting people in boxes when they are useful, like doing the Enneagrams, doing the love languages types. Like, I love that kind of stuff because I just love when people tell me about myself. Like, I just love, yes, like, read me to filth. And if it's accurate, I'll love you even more. But the different play personalities include the collector, the competitor, the creator/artist, the director who enjoys playing by planning, the explorer, the joker, the kinesthete who likes to move, and the storyteller. And I took a quiz on this, and initially I thought I was going to be the director because it was saying that they enjoy playing by planning. Like, that is their form of play. Planning things out, making like elaborate schemes for things, and executing that is what they like, and like helping others direct and execute a vision is how they like doing things. And I thought that correlated with like me wanting to be a teacher. So I was like, no, for sure. And there was a picture of Oprah, and I'm like, I feel like me and Oprah go good. So like, yeah, I'm a director. But I finished taking the test and I got the explorer, which makes way more sense. And the explorer can be applied to physical and emotional. Exploring your physical environment, the world around you, whether that's going outside for a hike, going on a walk to see the sunset, going to a beach if you are so fortunate, and I am jealous, but just exploring your world and your environment and just being in awe, being curious, asking questions, maybe going to a spot and asking locals for their recommendations, just exploring in that physical sense. Or something that I do that I didn't even realize, something that I do that just doesn't get enough credit or isn't seen as serious of a desire or a quest, which is emotional exploration. I love, there's no surprise to anybody because that's why I have this platform, but I love just, and I'm so sorry, but I'm going to say it, I love just digging deep and finding the meaning of everything. I love finding everybody's unique story, what made them who they are, why the world is the way it is, and whether that's productive, whether we should reconstruct that idea and build a more positive one. I just love asking questions, and I've always been the kid, that's the thing, I've always been the kid that was the why person. I've always been the kid that wanted to know, and it used to frustrate a lot of adults around me because they weren't as emotionally regulated and they did not understand that quest for curiosity. They weren't always, I'm not saying they never did, but they weren't always able to lean into that and have the answers to give me when I was in my curious rampage, I'll say. But I love that energy because as adults, I know how important it is now to be curious, to ask questions, to question authority, to question why things are the way they are, to not just blindly accept something because that's the way it's always been, but to instead take it from a different approach and to approach it from a place of open-mindedness, which is directly tied to being playful. And playful energy is so important for creation and so important for growth, important for the evolution of not only your own consciousness, but the collective consciousness. And I think it's really interesting that we so often just reduce play to being this one activity for children and it's more than just a game. It doesn't have to be you running in the park or you kicking a ball or you doing a cartwheel. It can absolutely be that, but it can also be you deeply exploring your community and the world around you and trying to create actionable change in real time. And it could be you doing the work, doing the hard work, and exploring and being curious and collecting different things from where you go and building community with the people around you and moving your body and telling stories and making life beautiful and just trying to show everybody that life can be a beautiful thing in all of its layers. I want to touch on the child psychology of play because, like I mentioned, that is a big emphasis in the curriculum that I'm studying, specifically in elementary education. I would love to teach young children, but I think in any capacity that you teach children, play is going to be present. If you just think about your school experience, the playground was usually an everyday thing that you would go to and you would have your time. And that was for a very good reason. Children learn their social skills and personal skills through playing with others, through engaging in that activity. In one of my textbooks, it says that learning occurs best when students are fully invested in the process, when they can interact with the materials, play with them, explore, re-examine the concepts, and then individually make those concepts their own. And this was specifically in the chapter talking about the different types of learning styles, and that's a conversation for a whole nother time. But that ties into play because some students are auditory learners, some students are more hands-on, which I say I will be a more hands-on learner. Children can learn by doing, they can learn by seeing, they can learn by reading, writing. There are so many different ways and factors that go into how people absorb and retain information. But with that, play is a big way that children are able to learn. Same can be said for adults. When you're able to interact with your environment and make that information applicable to your own life, you're able to store that information and make it meaningful to you. It's not just going to be this useless fact or this useless lesson that you just have to tough it out through. It's going to be something that's actually important for your life. And there can be so much fun in that process. Something that I really enjoy that we incorporate at my school is we do art every day. That could be seen as a useless activity or just not important for children to learn, but even through that, that is an example of play, and that is something where they can learn their creativity, they can learn fine motor skills, they can learn their confidence in themselves. So many different skills are tied closely with being able to play. In one of my favorite books of all time, which I can't believe I haven't talked about this in a while, it's like my Bible, I swear by this book, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown, she talks about play, which I kind of forgot about until I was researching for this episode again, and I was like, oh my gosh, she has a whole chapter on it. And I have so many highlights from that chapter when I first read it. But she talks about how a critically important part of wholehearted living is play. She says, I came to this realization by watching my children and recognizing the same playful behaviors in them that were described by the people I interviewed. These folks played, and the people that she interviewed were adults. And she was on this quest to find why and how we as adults lose that sense of play, something that was such a shaping and formative part of our being, why we were able to just discard it so easily. Brené Brown says that in today's culture, where our self-worth is tied to our net worth and we base our worthiness on our level of productivity, spending time doing purposeless activities is rare. In fact, for many of us, it sounds like an anxiety attack waiting to happen. She was basically saying how our worthiness is so closely tied to our ability to be productive, our ability to produce. Therefore, engaging in something like play that usually is done for the sake of doing it, not for the sake of a result necessarily, other than the result being joy and fun and happiness, we see that as meaningless. And that's not something we believe, that's something that we were taught to believe. Because in capitalism, there's no time to play because that time could be used to be making something, could be used to be making money. So we learn to devalue play when it is the fundamental aspect of our being, our well-being, and our ability to interact with ourselves and the world in a positive way. Dr. Stuart Brown is someone who has done a lot of research on play, and he, I believe, is the founder, or he at least works closely with, the National Institute of Play, which that's so cool that there's something that exists like that. I just recently watched his TED Talk, and he was saying how work does not work without play, meaning you are not able to engage in deeply meaningful work without an ability to be open and to try things out and to engage in play and optimism. He said how the opposite of play is not work, and I did Google this to double check. When you look up the antonym of play, work pops up. he says that the opposite is actually depression. When you think about our world and just how colorful and vibrant and how grand and beautiful it is, think of music, think of songs, engaging with others, concerts, movies, art of any form, paintings, drawing, clothing, color, sound, all of it. All of that came from someone playing, someone being excited, someone having inspiration, and someone leaning into that and following that. And play is not this serious thing. That's kind of the whole point. And the opposite of that is not work, which we commonly associate with it. The opposite of that would be depression, would be a world depleted of any joy and laughter and lightheartedness and silliness and whimsy. That would be the scariest reality to ever live in. And I, for one, want nothing more but a world full of play, and I'm just so grateful. And it takes a special kind of awareness to acknowledge the amount of joy and play and whimsy that is already present in your world. It just requires you to acknowledge it and then take the actionable steps to apply it and appreciate it. There's joy and whimsy and things to be in awe of all around you, even right now. The fact that I'm even talking to you is a miracle. The fact that I'm able to record this is a miracle. The fact that I have money to record this, and the fact that I have money to afford this. The fact that I could write this in my notebook, and I have an able body. I'm able to speak, and you can hear me and understand me. Like, all of those little things are just, like, normal in our brains. But when you break it down, that is such a beautiful thing and a gift. And it is that awareness of those things that allows us to live a more well-rounded, wholehearted life, like Brené Brown says. And I just want for me and everybody around me to have a year of whimsy, a year of not taking themselves or others too seriously, a year of embracing the inevitability and the confusion and the weirdness of life, and embracing the whimsy that is also present at that time, because two things can be true at the same time, and there's so much joy and beauty. And I just want to frolic and have fun and giggle and laugh and just enjoy myself, because at the end of the day, we live on a floating rock and we can make that fun. And we can decorate our avatar, and we can go to cool places, and we can explore and collect cool things, and we can listen to awesome music, and we can draw, and we can write, and we can translate our experiences into art, and then that art will then touch other people's lives, and that will then just impact the world in a beautiful way that is not even conceptual in my brain. But that's just like so beautiful, and even that is an aspect of play. Play is not this one-dimensional thing. And I think as adults, we desperately need play. Play is powerful, and there's room for whimsy and wonder in every day, and especially in a year. And it's up to you to make that. And I really hope you can, because every time that I just like look for things to be grateful for, my life is so much more enjoyable. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. This is the year of whimsy. This is the year of wonder. This is the year of being our inner child. Because at the end of the day, they never really left us. We just were forced to push them to the back of our mind. But they have needs, and if their needs were not fully met in childhood, it is up to us to give them love and the attention that they so desperately deserve and desperately are craving. So I encourage you to do something that would make your inner child smile. One of my favorite things is jumping on a trampoline or swimming in the pool and doing like backflips. And when you like get that like sharp pain in your nose when the water floods up, that just reminds me of being a kid. And it's like, it can be fun. It can be fun. So please lean into whimsy and wonder and play. It will change your life. I love you so much. Forward kiss time. That was kind of freaky. That was a little intimate. Sorry guys, I did watch Baby Girl twice this month. So alrighty. I love you so very much, and stay tuned because I've been cooking. Let me not say that. Actually, who gives a shit? I'm literally talking about not taking myself too seriously. Stay tuned. I have ideas. It's just about me making them real. I love you. I will see you very soon. Peace and blessings. I apologize again that you can see the ugly darkness behind me of the night. Sorry, chat. Mama was tired.